can often feel like a chore. But having the right equipment can be life-changing in terms of bringing a little bit more convenience into home cooking and making it a little bit more enjoyable, not only during cooking time, but cleaning as well. So to help you in that journey, here are my top 5 kitchen equipments that will help you bring a little bit more convenience into your home kitchen. Let's get started. Even out of these 5 equipments, if I only had to choose one must-have in every single household, it would be the humble pressure cooker. Many people are scared of it, but you don't have to be. When you find out how life-changing this one single pot is to your home cooking experience, you will never go back. Having a pressure cooker turns making those delicious, hearty, slow-cooked meals a breeze. In just about 40 minutes to an hour, you can turn any lamb shoulder, brisket, ribs, beans into melt in your mouth, soft, delicious, hearty home-cooked meal. This is the easiest way to feed your family nutritious dinners, and also being able to do them in bulk so that I can even freeze them for another day. You may have seen online that pressure cookers are becoming a little bit more popular, but I find that a lot of people have those Instant Pot appliance type pressure cookers. And from what I've seen, I have friends who have bought them, and when they see the results of what I've prepared in my pressure cooker versus what they prepared, even if it's the exact same thing, a recipe that they followed from my book, the result always ends up a little bit more watery. And I think it's because with these stovetop pressure cookers, they actually reduce the liquid in the food. So with a pressure cooker, you have to fill it up with water, have some liquid in there to create the pressure. And with any slow cooked meal, what you want is that liquid that's in there reduces and concentrates to give you that delicious, thick sauce full of intense flavor. And with those appliance type pressure cookers, you don't seem to be able to get that. So I don't know how much they cost, but these in itself are actually really affordable, and they're a 2-in-1, because with the lid on, you get a pressure cooker. With the lid off, you just have a regular pot. So if you're the kind of person who's just starting to set up your kitchen and you haven't bought an entire set of pots and pans, you definitely don't need one. With just a couple of pots and a pressure cooker, you can do a multitude of dishes. And if you're the kind of person that doesn't want to have a cramped kitchen with a million different types of things, having a pressure cooker can really help you minimize that and do more variety of dishes with less things. So grab your hands in one of these and you won't regret it. If you're the kind of person who's a little bit wary in terms of using a pressure cooker, if you're maybe even scared, I have 3 short videos up on Instagram and YouTube Shorts where I debunk pressure cooker myths so that you don't have to be scared about using a pressure cooker. I just have a nice Tefal pressure cooker, so these have served me very well and they last a really long time, but they all seem to be very similar, so you don't have to get a Tefal one, not sponsored or anything. It's just I'm very happy with how well these function. If you already have one of these and you know what it's like to cook with a pressure cooker, comment below your favorite pressure cooker meal so that other people can see how good these are and give them a little bit of a taste of what kind of meals they're missing out on just because they don't have one of these to make slow cooking a breeze. Second utensil I really think you should have in your convenient home kitchen is a fine grater. These fine graters are awesome for zesting any sort of fruit or using spices as well, like nutmeg. Using the entire spice is a completely different flavor than using nutmeg powder. I love grating a little bit of nutmeg on some carrot cake or some curries and adding a touch of elegance to any cheese that you grate over a pasta, scrambled eggs, anything that you like to put some cheese on. I find that also for those cheeses that you want to melt, it helps with melting them quicker. So the thinner you slice the cheese or the smaller the cheese is, the faster it'll melt. So having these little fine graters is such a multi-purpose tool. I really can't see myself without one in the kitchen. What you can do as well, there's some where it's sort of like half and half fine and half thick. So sort of like a multi-tool. I still prefer the fine grade ones. If you want to avoid having a fine grater and then a thicker grater, so it's two things, if you want to minimize the amount of things you have in your kitchen, then you can have those half type graters. I find that these microplane type graters are even finer than the fine grate you get on those little box graters, but either way, they're both really good. And if you already have a grater, you definitely don't need to chuck it out to just get one of these fancy microplane ones. If you use it for something else other than zesting and cheese grating, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to find out and find even more uses to this awesome little tool. Next fundamental utensil for your convenient kitchen is a tiny little serrated paring knife. Having a knife in your kitchen is pretty self-explanatory. If you don't have one, I don't know what kind of cooking you're doing, but what many people don't have is a little paring serrated knife. These things are super versatile, you never have to sharpen them, and you can get the handles in some funky colors as well. So if you're somebody like me who likes having things that make you feel good when using them, adding some color to the things that you use is a must. So currently I'm not in my actual home, so I just have this little example black paring knife, but if I were you, I'd get some funky colors. These are really good as well for chopping anything that your regular knife would struggle with. Think citrus, tomatoes, anything small that you don't need a huge knife, or anything that you don't want to get your entire chopping board dirty. This is really good that you can just kind of do it in your hands, easy to clean up, easy to clean the knife itself. And even for teaching kids how to cook, as long as you teach them how to safely protect their fingers to avoid cutting, because of the serrated, you can cut yourself quite deep. But if you teach your kids on how to protect their fingers when using one of those knives, this is a really good knife for learning how to chop, because the knife will do the job for you. For kids' instincts when using a knife at first is to serrate, which you can't really do with a regular knife. So teaching them how to cook with a little serrated knife is also a really good choice. Number 4 for essential kitchen utensils in your convenient home kitchen are silicone spatulas. I cannot live without one of these. Whenever I go to an Airbnb or something like this where they don't have a silicone spatula, I'm like, I can't cook. This is it. Nah, just kidding. You can always make do with something else. But when it comes to scraping down bowls and pots, having one of these makes it super easy to clean, less rinsing before going into the dishwasher, less things to try and scrub and make your sponge messy if you're hand washing. These things are a beaut. And they're also, depending on what kind of pot you have, of course they won't damage your pots. They don't keep the flavor as much. Like with wooden spoons, sometimes it absorbs a lot of the flavor of the food you're cooking, or as well, if you don't dry them out properly, they can start going a bit moldy. Especially with bamboo utensils, I really recommend not getting bamboo. Wood is much better. But yeah, so silicone ones are really nice. You can use it exactly like a wooden spoon. I recommend getting the entire thing silicone. Sometimes you can get the silicone top and the wooden handle. You just encounter the same issue. They're harder to clean. Sometimes the handle breaks or the handle starts going moldy, and then you're just left with the silicone top. What are you going to do with that? Unless you're really good at wood carving and you can make yourself a new handle, which I'm very impressed at, by the way. If you've done that, it's a skill I'd love to have, but definitely not investing some time into learning how to do it anytime soon. So I just got myself fully silicone utensils. As you can see, you can get it in different colors, which I love, and different sizes. So these ones are really good for just scooping out jars. Feeding my sourdough starter, I love using this little one, just scraping down the bottoms and stops it from drying out at the top, if you know what I'm talking about. And it's also multi-purpose serving spoon, so you don't need multiple things. The only downside to it is if you're not careful, for example, if you're using it with a blender or a food processor, sometimes you can get little cuts or it can chop bits off the spatula, so just be careful with that. And if that is a concern of yours to accidentally end up consuming little bits of the silicone, which I'd say would happen very rarely if it did, you can also sometimes get the same shape utensils but in wooden form. So if that's a concern, I'd still super recommend. Unlike hard plastic utensils like this, these don't melt, so you don't get microplastics in your food. Silicone is really durable. These aren't expensive, but they also will last you a really long time. So if you don't have one of these, highly recommend you invest in a few different colors. But even if you just had like these two, that's plenty. And last but not least, of course, we have the food processor. You don't necessarily need a food processor. A nice, good quality, high power blender would do the job. But I really like food processors because, as you can see, I have a nice big one just because I like prepping in bulk. So if I'm making a hummus, if I'm making a sauce, I'm making it in a big quantity so that I can eat it throughout the entire week, maybe 2, and even potentially freeze some for another time. So I don't have to make things every week, especially things that will last a while. So these are amazing. I use them for so many things, but especially when I'm bulk prepping, which is entirely what is going to make your life easier in the future, especially when trying to bring convenience into your life. Bulk prepping and prepping sauces, ready to go preps, freezer items, a lot of these things I make them in a food processor. Even smoothie bowls, I love making it here because it gives you that thick texture that you can't quite get in a blender. A blender sometimes ends up a bit more liquidy than you'd like. With here, it almost ends up like an ice cream. So if you're the kind of person that lives in a hot country like I do and love making acai bowls for breakfast or smoothie bowls, having one of these is also something that can help you easily make it at home and will save you a lot of money instead of going out to eat those things. I don't often use the attachments that comes with this, but there's so much that you can do with it as well. If you're the kind of person that doesn't like to chop, or if you want to bulk chop onions or anything like this and chuck it in the freezer, this is a really good way to do it as well. The better quality your food processor, the more evenly those things will chop, but as well, it's not the end of the world if you get a bigger piece or a smaller piece. This is home cooking after all. Doesn't have to be perfect as long as it tastes delicious and you're making it yourself and you're feeding your family a delicious, nutritious meal. So that's it. These are my 5 top kitchen equipment you must have if you want to have a convenient home kitchen. You don't need a lot of things to help make cooking a little bit easier and convenient for yourself. You just need the right things. So hopefully this has given you a little bit of insight as to what helps me bulk prep, make not only cooking but cleaning a little bit quicker and faster in my everyday life. And if you're interested in buying some of these equipments, I highly recommend Kitchen Warehouse if you live in Australia. They are amazing. They definitely have everything you need and more. So don't get distracted. It is very easy to go there and want everything. But they definitely will have all of the everyday essentials that I use and you would want in your kitchen to help you make cooking a little bit easier in your everyday life. I've also got a list of utensils that are nice to have but you don't really need, so click the link here to watch a couple more videos like this. That's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll catch you in the next one. You're watching Food for Days.